Identity Crisis starts in the unusual place of us watching someone else's home movies. Actually, it's from an away team mission 5 years ago, a mission that Geordi was on with 4 other people. One of them is Susanna, the one who led that mission, and she's here because 2 members of the team have deserted their posts, which is really strange given the reason that they were investigating that planet.
The original Tarchanan disappearances were never solved, were they?
No, we never learned what happened or why. 49 people gone.
And 5 years later, the away team that was investigating their disappearances have started to disappear themselves.
I like it. Shoot me a spec script and we'll talk to your agent some more. Actually, that's probably on my mind because this is one of many scripts that were submitted by fans. And like a lot of those, it was brought in and then radically changed. Kind of like the one for Sub Rosa, which was so altered that the original author's actual existence is denied across much of the internet. The original story involved 2 brand new characters who were obviously transformed into Geordi and Susanna. Sorry, but her last name is really hard. It sounds like they're saying Lightner or Lighten, but the name is spelled like a bad set of Scrabble letters, and frankly, I'm tired after the move, so since I'm calling Geordi by his first name anyway, cut me some slack and let me call her Susanna. Anyway, Brandon Braga was responsible for transforming this into the final script. You might remember that he had the same job on Schisms last month. Well, it's no coincidence I'm covering both of these, but I better not get ahead of myself. So after the titles, the Enterprise is on its way to Tarkanan 3, the planet where this all started, and also planet that most sounds like a Game of Thrones character. The latest person to vanish was last seen heading this way in a stolen shuttle, so on the way it gives Geordi and Susanna a chance to catch up, such as about the guy that she almost married.
One with the thin mustache.
Oh, not Bogro.
I know.
The one who always used to drive you crazy?
Geordi's laughing his ass off because he's happy that for once it's somebody else getting shit about a relationship gone bad. But his pleasure is drawn short because they found the missing shuttle. Only the pilot refuses to respond. He's accelerating. In fact, his acceleration is itself accelerating, which means he's going to crash into that planet pretty soon, leaving them with a real problem here. If he crashes into the planet, he'll die, but it would be really cool to watch. Picard tries to talk him out of it, but apparently he and Tarkanan have agreed on some kind of suicide pact, so he flies in and blows up anyway. Worf does a scan and finds out that at least the other 2 figured out how to, land on the planet without crashing into it, but there's no signs of where the other 2 pilots have gone. That means that the only choice is to beam down and investigate a place where, so far, practically everyone who has ever gone there eventually vanishes. So it's no surprise when they beam down that there is not one single unnamed character present. Every gold shirt on that ship suddenly found a closet to hide in until they were gone. Geordi stops to check out one of the shuttle pods, the Cousteau, no doubt named after the famous underwater explorer, and given the footprints that Susanna finds, possibly piloted by Jacques Cousteau himself while still wearing his flippers. They check out the base, and it is a real testament to Federation design. I may make cracks from time to time, but look at this. They not only built a research outpost that is completely intact after 5 years of nobody maintaining it on a planet with high winds, but it's still got the lights on. These people want to study some alien mold or whatever somewhere, and they wind up building something that'll outlast the pyramids. That's dedication. Things take a turn for the worse as Susanna starts to act a little funny, then is on the verge of running away, so Geordi has to grab her and have them both beamed up. Her blood work shows that she's got some kind of reaction going on, but they've no idea to what, so all she wants to do is get back down on the planet. They think that might not be such a good idea, so they'll just go look at the reports instead, where those footprints come up again. There's no creature that would make those kinds of footprints, which if I remember Forbidden Planet right, that means this creature has to be created by someone's mind powers. Sorry, but that's just logic. There's a brief interlude where Data is seen to be looking for any creature from any planet that could possibly make a footprint that looks like that, which is about as hard of a job as that sounds. But luckily, the Federation has almost as many pictures of feet as Quentin Tarantino's hard drive, so he's hard at work at that. When Dr. Crusher points out the difficulty of his task and how it shows that Data is worried about Geordi, he corrects her to say that he can't feel that emotion, but does admit to being highly motivated. I like the scene because it again shows how Data is different. He doesn't yet have emotions, and yet still has developed relationships that in others would be a sign of emotion. It's a sign of how different AI can be. During this time, Geordi and Susanna have been looking over the recording again. Luckily, this happened on the one mission where they brought a video recorder along, huh? But she's getting frustrated and wants to head down to the planet to look personally, and begins really flaking out when she can't. She finally has some kind of fit and collapses, revealing a bunch of veins on the back of her neck. Oh no. I've said it before, veins on the face or neck are a sign that you are in for a terrible transformation and or death. And sure enough, 3 of her fingers have already begun fusing together. Man, think of all the money that she spent on piano lessons that's going to go completely to waste now. When we pick up with her after the commercial break, she's even worse. So that means that Geordi's going to have to continue this investigation alone. One thing is for sure, though. We know what happened to the missing people. Something transformed them into a different creature. So I'd suggest beginning our investigation by questioning Cersei. Dr. Crusher warns that Geordi could be next, despite the fact that he's had 2 bioscans today. She still wants him to stay here, though, but Geordi wants to continue his investigation since, that could wind up saving his life. And more importantly, it will be the most interesting part of the episode. So Geordi goes back to watch the recording some more, and the first thing we learn is that the guy operating the camera must be the laziest member of the team, because rather than investigating, he just stands there and slowly looks around. Apparently this mission was so important we needed to have a visual record of it, and yet so unimportant that we could afford to have one guy just fucking around the whole time. After watching the whole thing yet again, Geordi starts looking for any anomalous readings, inexplicable sounds, strange energy waves, unaccounted for interference, basically everything that you see on a cable ghost hunting show. Data stops by and offers to help, but Geordi figures that having a super intelligent android with encyclopedic knowledge would be zero help in solving this, so he's just going to handle this on his own, thank you. While he's thinking about that, Nurse Ogawa has made a discovery that Susanna's transformed skin now mimics whatever light is shining upon it. And what's more, her body is giving off some kind of disruptive field that makes it more difficult to scan her. So they're going to have to scan her in order to solve this. You can see the problem they're going to be facing. Meanwhile, Geordi's been looking things over and sees a shadow that he can't quite account for in this video. So he decides to convert the video over to a holographic recreation so that he can better examine things. Which is good because his hand is already beginning to tremble, the earliest sign of the transformation. He's going to have to get some answers fast then, so he looks things over carefully, including putting in the guy with the Google Glass that's recording everything. He thinks, though, the answer lies in the shadows, and thus attention is drawn to the shadows. Pay attention to the shadows, and you'll find the answer. This is a great bit of detective work, undermined by the fact that if you are indeed paying close attention to the shadows, it appears that this woman is sporting a massive erection. Just look at that angle she's got there. She is packing one impressive, fully functional with multiple techniques Johnson, isn't she? You can, of course, tell that it's the handle of her phaser inside the frame, of course. It's just that I'm rather surprised that of all the ways to pose her during a freeze-frame scene, this is the one the director apparently liked. I'm interested in something that reflects the subtle paranoid terror of the scene, but also speaks to my interest in Futanari. Anyway, once Lady Lancelot is removed, there's nobody else left to cast a shadow, and yet there is still a shadow being cast. The computer can't identify anything that could be casting said shadow, so Geordi has it extrapolate approximately where it would be and what it would look like, assuming that it was humanoid in size, revealing a figure that had been standing right in the midst of the group the entire time, and they'd never noticed. And if that's not enough to make your butt pucker, Geordi has a small spasm, and now his fingers are fused together. That's a bad sign right there. This is the most memorable scene in the episode, despite the fact that it is actually rather short, which speaks to its effectiveness. Like with schisms, the holodeck is used in show as a means for investigating, but narratively it serves as a means of creating tension and atmosphere. Although through opposing methods, schisms had them build one thing on top of another to create the revelation. This one strips away elements to achieve the same effect. Both are reconstructing the horror of an experience in the past, just going about it in a different way. But that's no doubt why both are effective. Meanwhile, Dr. Crusher has discovered the cause of this, some kind of parasite that takes over the immune system and uses that to transform the DNA of the host. They work to try to remove it, but we can't find any information on how she might have gotten it in the first place. And it is touch and go as to whether or not she'll be able to revert to normal thanks to their treatments. So naturally, treating Geordi right now before things get worse would be a good thing. Only problem is, he has reached the point where he is no longer detectable by their sensors, so they had to go to the holodeck in order to check on him.
You search the structure. I will take the perimeter.
An excellent strategy, but if I could offer a suggestion, maybe you could, I don't know, turn it off? Now, I'm no security expert, but I think that it would probably be pretty easy to search a room that's completely empty. Worf eventually finds Geordi's uniform. It's all ripped up just like the ones on the shuttle. And soon, some kind of predator-like thing appears in one of the transporter rooms. And after it overrides the lockouts and starts to beam down, we see that it's an alien version of Geordi. This is a bit of a problem. The only way to possibly detect him now is to get in close with an ultraviolet lamp. So they just gotta kind of hope that they stumble across him, really. Luckily, Suzanne is mostly better by now, not only because she can join in the expedition, but also provide exposition. This is how the aliens reproduce. They infect a different species with their DNA and cause them to mutate. So basically, that means that Geordi got knocked up, which is not doing his reputation in the romance department any favors. Fortunately, the critters didn't stray far, and Data managed to find Geordi, and Susanna talks him down so that he doesn't run off with the others. He's on the road to recovery. The other two are revealed to be completely screwed. The end. Post-episode follow-up. Annoying character goes to the aliens for being jerks that knock up unsuspecting people. Shame on you, aliens. Shame. We have a Damn Dirty Mutant award for Geordi and Susanna, who are transformed into aliens. We have a Burn Baby Burn for the shuttle that exploded for not following basic flight safety rules. Final score for Identity Crisis is 6 out of 10. Pretty much anyone except for Data could have been the main character this time, so picking Geordi was a nice break from his usual kinds of stories. And the guest actor chosen for Susanna does an excellent job of carrying the load this episode that demanded, well, so much from her. Like Schisms, this episode's strength is in its mystery and atmosphere, which manages to make this a slightly above average outing for TNG.
All hail the Overlord! All hail the Overlord!
Security, we have an intruder in transporter room 6.